To have passion in life is everything.
What's your Everest?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
that 200-inch buck?
They just look so impressive when they're wide.
Especially running away.
Welcome to this week's episode of Eastmans Elevated.
It's like a think tank for outdoor activity.
Sounds exactly like my hunting. Just always thinking about it, always trying to evolve it and make it better.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Got a brand new Eastmans Elevated for you. So on today's podcast, I have on my friend Justin Sparks. So Justin Sparks is VP of Operations over at Kryptek. He's just a great hunter, great human being. Like, I really like this guy and connect with him every time I hang out with him. We were able to do a shoot together about a year ago, and actually maybe it's been 2 years now, and we've been friends ever since. This guy is an absolute student of the game. He is one of us that just loves bow hunting with every fiber of his being. And so I've been trying to get him on the podcast for a while, but it worked out at the expo. We could sit down for a live recording. So this is a great one. We talk about Kryptek and talk about some of the gear in the beginning, and then get into bow hunting and tactics and thinking outside the box and learning, being a student of the game. Just made for a great conversation. So I really like this guy, really enjoyed the conversation, and I know you guys will enjoy it too. I want to thank my sponsors for today's show. I want to thank Kryptek. So we're going to talk about Kryptek on the show a bit, just their technical mountaineering gear. Like I said on the podcast, or like I'll say on the podcast, it's the best technical mountaineering gear system I've ever put together. I'm such a huge fan of it. It keeps me comfortable, keeps me out there longer. I am also in love with their camo patterns. That Obscura Transitional is such an awesome Western pattern that I think it really gives me an advantage out there bow hunting. So if you're in the market for any new gear, make sure to go check out what Kryptek is putting out there. Just great gear and great guys that run that operation. I also want to thank Savage. Savage builds great out-of-the-box accurate rifles. They just shoot. Like, I had my rifle, I built up a new rifle, and I had that thing sighted in within a handful of shots. It's just so accurate and such great groups. They have a bunch of different models of rifles. So, if you're on a budget, you can still find a great shooting rifle, all the way up to, like, the guys at the office really like that 110 ultralight. That rifle has the Accu trigger, which you can adjust the trigger pull. So you don't have to take it to a gunsmith to lighten up the trigger, which makes for a more accurate rifle. They also have the Accu stock, where you can adjust the length on it, so they don't build us all equally, so you can pretty much customize this rifle to you with the comb height, and then also the length of pole on the stock. So just great shooting rifles. A bunch of different models, bunch of different calibers, super accurate. I couldn't be more impressed by what Savage is putting out there. So if you're in the market for a new rifle or building a new rifle, go check out Savage and everything they offer. I also want to thank Black Ovis. So Black Ovis is an internet retail shop that has absolutely everything you need for your next hunt. They carry all the top name brands like Kryptek, like Zamberlan, like Everly Stock. So they have all the top name brands as well as their own name brand that builds quality stuff. Like, I was looking at their sleeping bags and a good weight to warmth ratio, and then also a good price point. So they have some good name brand stuff as well, where you can save a few bucks and still get quality gear. I always mention my buddy Dylan Ness. He had a pair of puffy pants from him, and really liked those. So you can find all kinds of gear on there. They have these great deals on there. So you get points for every purchase. 1 point equals $1 that you can use on the next purchase. You can also save 10% on your order. That was another thing. One of my buddies just used that promo code to save 10% on a new pair of Zamberlan boots. So the promo code is Elevated10. Save 10% on your order. And if you have any questions, give these guys a call. They have a real knowledgeable staff as well that are all Western hunters. And thanks again to those guys for their support of the podcast. I also want to thank Camo Fire. Camo Fire is an app that you get on your phone that has 80 new hunting deals that come up every 24 hours at huge discounts. So if you're in the market for good gear and you watch these deals, you'll see some great stuff come up that you can save some good money on. So you can download the app. It's Camo Fire, and check out everything that they offer. Over at Eastman's, we got done with the expo, got some great recordings there. This is an expo recording. Man, I just had a great time hanging out with those guys and talking over, the hunting industry and talking over the podcast and ideas for the future. So I'm really excited about it, and walked away with just some great recordings for you guys. So just continuing to work away and chase down these really good guests that I can have, these really good in-depth conversations with, and we'll keep working away on it. So that was fun. You can check out everything we do at Eastman's. Right now, we got a promo code going. So Tag Hub is our internet research tool. We're right in tag season. I'm using this all the time right now. And we actually have bundle packages where you can bundle that, the mule deer course, and I believe subscription to the magazine, save some money there. And we have a promo deal going right now. So if you go onto Tag Hub, put in the promo code Brian, I believe you save some money on it, and we're giving away a free 1-year subscription to Mountain Tough. I've really enjoyed Mountain Tough Fitness. I've enjoyed using their app, the in-person meetings. I really like these guys and really like what they're putting out. And I just think it's such a great workout for the mountains and getting ready for season. So you can get a free year subscription to their app. That includes they have a mental toughness block, which is one of the best ones that I've seen put together about gaining mental toughness. Just this great block all about it. And then also all the workouts. They have workouts with no gear, with minimal gear, or with a full gym setup. So you get that free subscription with a subscription to Tag Hub by using the promo code Brian. And man, with that, yeah, I think that's all I have to mention. I think we should get into this podcast with Justin. It's just a great one. Like I say, I've been trying to get him on the podcast for a while now. Really happy to have him on, and now gonna make him a regular guest. He's just such a student of the game, great bow hunter, so knowledgeable. A gear nut or gear fanatic. That's why he does so good over there at Kryptek. So yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation. I think you guys will too. Justin Sparks from Kryptek. I'm your host, Brian Barney. Eastmans Elevated. Here we go.
Well, I'm here with Justin Sparks. I'm so excited to get you on the podcast. We've been working to get you a time, but it worked out perfectly where we can sit down and have a face-to-face. So, man, you heck of a bow hunter, and then such a huge part of Kryptek and this gear that I'm using, man. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that you guys are able to do this here at the Expo and get so much opportunity to get all these podcasts done and talk to all these cool people.
Oh, man, such great, engaging conversations. Yeah, it's been super. I've had a bunch of good ones, and good to get you on in the morning when I'm nice and fresh.
Right?
Yeah, but, man, you helped me put together the best system for hunting I've ever had. Like, the technical mountaineering gear that you guys built is unparalleled. Like, you guys have worked really hard at offering absolutely everything we need from these Western hunts, and that's from my early hot weather hunts, which I'm so glad that the Sonoran pants, Sonoran shirt, man, that stuff works so good, all the way to the late season in the bitter cold chasing rutting muleys. So thanks for helping me put that together, man.
I just gave you ideas of what I use, and I've been using it for so long and just really tweaking gear and making sure that each one of those systems for each time of the year really work well.
You're a gear fanatic, aren't you?
I am. I'm a gear junkie at heart.
And you dive into each one of these pieces and make sure it's going to operate correctly. And the deal with you is you have such a passion for hunting and for bow hunting. And so I know every year you're going to these phenomenal places chasing deer and elk. And so when you get a guy that hunts like I hunt, you test your gear and you find the pitfalls in it, and you also find what works well. And the nice thing about you guys is you're constantly evolving it.
Yeah, the industry's constantly changing. From the day that I came in till now, even the technologies that are out, we're always looking for that best fabric, the best fit, the best features and functions. Listening to guys like you that are out there saying, hey, if you just did this would work really well. And obviously we can't be all things to all people, but we'd sure try. There's just, the evolution of industry, you can think back when you first started hunting till now, it's just light changing. It's just different.
It makes you more effective out there. Like you can be comfortable for longer.
Yep.
Like just for instance, like the puffball jacket. What's that one called? That you have two different ones that I run.
You run, I think, the guard jacket, which is in the altitude.
Yep.
And then I think you run. Is it the one without the hood?
No, the one with the hood.
The Lycos.
Yeah, the Lycos. That's the one.
Lycos.
And the warmth to weight ratio is so good. It's one of the best puffball jackets I've ever owned. And then I love the low cut that covers my butt to actually keep like my midsection warm.
Yep.
That makes such a difference.
When you're sitting down and glassing like you do, and I know you do a ton, and there's a little breeze, if that doesn't come down past your torso and cross your butt, you get that little breeze, even on the hot days, right? When you're first thing in the morning, it's a little bit cool, especially in the desert. It just really makes a difference. And those are the little features that we try to make sure that we put in and listen to our guys in the field. Also on the flip side of that, when we get to designing gear, there's over technical and there's over durable. And we really like to try to, design our gear where durability and technology really cross the mark. If you get over technical, you're not going to be super durable. If you're over durable, you're definitely not going to be technical. So we'd really try to hit that graph where those two cross and make sure that your gear is going to make it through a season and another season and, based on usage, but also, that it's really going to function well for you in the field.
That's interesting. Because you can't have both. I mean, you can have both, but it's got to be a mix of the two,
Yep.
and it's almost like a give-take. And so it's trying to find the perfect balance between durability and technical, and lightweight.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
So I'll go into a little example for you. So we have multiple types of gaiters, and we have a gaiter that's, it's a 500D. It's just bomb-proof, Cordura type fabric, and you can go out and just beat it to death, and it won't pick, it won't scratch. I mean, it's going to work, but it won't breathe. It's just not super breathable. So you want to use it in those colder weather climates where you're not really hot. I run gaiters all the time. I'm a big gaiter guy. And then we turn around and we took the Pickar gaiter and the Coldo gaiter and we made them technical. We took our technical fabric. And so you can get, if you're careful, you can get a full season out of them, but they're designed to really function on that technical side. They breathe a lot. They protect your legs, the dirt that comes up. It protects your, all the debris that comes up, protects your boots, and I'm a big gaiter guy running, almost all the way into August, especially when you're going through the brush, the sagebrush, all the chaparral, the alder brush. So there's a really good example of overly durable and really technical, and the technical side is reaching into the durability stage. And then when you're over durable, it's just not going to perform.
You're spot on. I didn't know you had that lighter weight pair that breathed better. So I'm gonna dive in like after we get done here and get ready for next season. I don't need anything but there's just a couple items that you guys produce that would be hugely beneficial because gaiters are the absolute best on the market, best I've ever used. I've never had a pair last through all the abuse I can take it through, and it has to be a multiple year evolution because they're just built so durable. They keep my feet dry. The bottom sling isn't going bad, or I'm not wearing it out. The adjustment on it, because we're all individuals. Like, I know my calves are way bigger than yours, but just kidding. Yeah, but to fit all the different guys and boot sizes and things. But man, those things are best on the market.
They are, and then you have a little bit of stretch in them. That really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
The Velcro adjustment, the way the toe clip comes in. I like our we've got two different types of adjustment. I like the elastic adjustment, so you can really pull it throughout the day, and they just stay in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another piece, when you and that goes with any pant, it goes with any shirt, any jacket. I mean, there you get a little bit of both in each.
Yep.
So a game-changing piece we brought out last year. It's been something that we'd been testing. We really wanted to create a really good piece that lasted a long time, that was as light as weight possible, is our Sentinel puffy pant. I know that you love those. Everybody I talk to that's been running, they're like, man, you guys nailed it. You knocked it out of the park with this. They fold up small. They're full zip, so you can put them on over your gear when you get to the top of the mountain. And that's a piece that, we tested literally for 3 years. We tried down, we tried synthetic, we tried a blend, and everybody that has come up to us at the show that's been running them is just like, man, you knocked it out of the park with these. So there's another piece that you take some time to really put the development in, and then the end user, back to that comfort, what you talked about. If you can stay out that extra 30 minutes, right at dark, or be there first thing in the morning, and your gear just makes you a little bit more comfortable. Can you kill in flannels and blue jeans? Yeah, you did it. I did it when we were little. But if, in the mornings it was cold, and the days that were rainy and wet and all those days that were just miserable, that little bit of extra time that you can put in, just be a little bit more comfort, affects your mental capacity to want to stay there and, really push hard for that harvest.
100%. And those Sentinel pants, oh my gosh, that is one of my favorite pieces that you guys build. I never knew, I'd always layer my top, and I'd layer 4 or 5 layers to keep warm, and I'd still get cold on like when the wind's blowing or super cold days, and I never realized what a difference it made to keep my legs warm. And I'd wear some long johns and then wear some pants over top, and then thought that would be enough. But once you get a pair of those Sentinel pants, they're just a game changer. They're a game changer around camp. They're a game changer on the vantage point. They're a game changer when it drops well below zero. And then to have the zip off side, so you don't got to pull your boots off to stick this pair of pants on. You can stick them on and off throughout the day as you need them. And it's such an insulating layer. It makes all the difference in the world for keeping a skinny guy like me warm.
It really is game changing. And, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I prefer, and I think when I gave you that gear list and said, hey, this is what I think you'll really like. But I run pretty warm anyways, and I know everybody's a little bit different, but you're active. So that means you're running warm. And so I usually run, some of our lighter weight pants, our Tora altitude pant, our Valhalla pant, our Alios pant. I'll run a thinner pant because when, I'm active a lot. But when I'm sitting, you're going to get cold real quick. So even in the cooler, weather times, I'll run a merino, I'll run one of our lighter weight pants, but I've got those puffy pants in the back of my pack, and I'll pull them out and put them on. And then if the weather's really bad, I'll throw rain gear on top of that. And then you got double wind protection, you got insulation, and you can really sit for hours on end. I had a hunt this fall with my boys, and I literally sat for 8 hours on this knob just glassing. It's a really cool vantage point where you can see 270 degrees. And just sat there all day. And it was cold and it was blowing, and I was layered up just like that on the bottom and had similar layers on the top. And as the sun came out, I would pull my, puffed jacket off for a little bit, and the clouds would come over and the snow would start dropping. I'd throw, my layers back up. So it makes it really easy, to layer up and down when you have the right gear.
Yeah, I love those Valhalla pants. Those they work so good, even in the early season, all the way to the late season, and just the fit and stretch on there, like the way your pants operate, like I can't help but use them all the time in my everyday life because the fit's so good. Like I feel like restrictive pants put that extra little bit of effort on every step. And when you're doing 20,000 steps, 30,000 steps, if you have that extra resistance, it's like having ankle weights on.
It is. And you do that all day long, and you do that on a 7-day hunt. You really don't realize it until about day 3 or day 2 when you're switching pants or switching gear and you got a different type of pant on. It really makes a big difference. And that's where, we get into the articulated knee cut. So every time you lift your knee, there's less restriction. A little bit of stretch is always good. And it, by the end of your hunt, you can really tell a difference if you ever run a pant that doesn't stretch and a pant that stretches.
Man, that's the truth. Well, back to what you were saying about the layers and being comfortable on that vantage point. I think the other thing is it allows me to push further, push harder, because I know I can count on my gear. And even having the Sentinel pants and having the puffy jacket, like I feel like it's almost security too. It's almost like having my first aid kit. It's like safety, because I can sleep out a night if I have to.
Correct.
In that gear. I can survive a night. And I'm going to come clean with you about an idiot move I made this past season. So I was hunting like a madman and trying to get work done, and I kind of just have all my gear in a pile. I'm not as organized and checking things off a list because I'm hunting all the time for this moose. And so man, I leave my house and I drive 3-4 hours. I got all my stuff loaded up, go on a hunt that night. I get back to my truck and I look in my truck and I've got no sleeping bag in there.
Oh.
Just the biggest idiot move for like, and now I've done the idiot trifecta before where I forgot my pad, I forgot my sleeping bag. Like I forgot everything once in my life and I never will again, but I forgot to throw my sleeping bag in and I'm such an idiot. There's no way that I'm driving back and ruining this weekend hunt. So I did have my sleeping pads there and I can't sleep in a truck seat. And so I just threw on my layers and my rain gear over top, and it wasn't the most comfortable night in the world, but I did get my 6 hours and hunted the next day, and I was able to survive that night on a bitter cold night.
You are so correct on that. I've had nights out, where I've had that gear, and even if you've harvested an animal and you're really late, you've cut quarters up, you're hanging them, and you're just like, I really don't want to hike 2.5 miles or 3 miles or 6 miles back. I'm just going to spend the night. And having those right layers, I've done the same thing multiple times where I'm just like, you know what, puffy pants on, rain gear on, you curl up, find a nice tree with some nice bedding underneath it, and you spend the night. And is it the best night ever? No, but it works.
Yeah.
And that's the piece where you really start to go back in, and I know you're a big backcountry guy, and being able to get back in there, and then, even if you're on a buck and you bed him that night and you're just like, man, I don't want to leave him. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity when you have great gear.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can push harder, and then safety. You never know if you're going to twist an ankle or something, and having that gear always in my pack, I know I can survive a night and do what I need to do to get back to where if I didn't have that gear, it's touch and go. I mean, definitely build a fire and have wood sense, but it just gives me this sense of safety when I'm hunting.
Relief.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I also noticed that so back to durability and weight and finding that perfect line, I noticed that you offer a bunch of different types of like rain jackets, for instance. So you've got one that's so lightweight that I can throw in my pack, and maybe it doesn't have the features like the pit zips. Maybe it's not going to be good for like an Alaskan downpour for days on end, but it's going to get me through any storms that come in. It's lightweight, so I can backpack with it. But then you have a heavier weight that I can take when I'm going to the Pacific Northwest or when it's going to be really rainy conditions. Had like a super rainy hunt in Colorado a year ago where I really used that the more durable gear that's going to last going through brush. And so I just think it's cool that you haven't settled on one piece that this is our rain jacket. You've actually come up with 2, 3, 4 different designs for personal preference or for which hunt these guys are doing. Yeah,
there's not a one-all solution for everything. Just like when you get into our colder weather gear, an Aegis bib and jacket, you get into the Vela system. I mean, those are something that you're not going to really want to pack back in or walk in the back country. But when you are, take your time and you get up on that ridge and you sit down, or you're in a tree stand or in a ground blind, there's so many different options out there. And, we try to create, something for everybody in, those bulk categories that are going to use it. And rain gear is one of those that, you've got day hunts, you got multi-day hunts, you got day hunts in Alaska or multi-day hunts in Alaska where you're beating brush and, the lighter weight rain gear, anybody's lighter weight rain gear in that technical fashion and it's lightweight is going to go through the brush and come out not looking real good. So having those multiple options, and staying dry, whether you're out there for multi-days or just a day, like I said, throw it in my pack. I'm going to go out all day. If the rainstorm comes in, and as you know, in the fall especially, you'll get a rain that comes in for an hour or two, and then, you hunker down, you throw it on, you stay dry, and then the sun comes out, your rain gear goes back in your bag, and you get to hunt the rest of the day or the evening or that last little bit you want. So, having those multiple options really helps to pick what hunt you're going on and find the gear that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's, it's about being comfortable and staying out there longer, but it makes such a difference to where if you don't have the right gear, it forces you to come down. Like there is no staying up on a windy ridge if you don't have the right gear up there. Pretty soon you get so cold where, not that you're going to get hypothermic, but you're to that level where you got to start moving. And I've had hunts with adverse weather conditions where I have to stay on the vantage point to create opportunities, and just having that gear allows me to be able to stay up there, stay out longer, stay for more days. So, man, it's amazing. And then your guys' camo pattern, the Obscura Transitional, is the absolute best pattern on planet Earth. Like, there's a lot of good patterns out there this one is the best.
It is. I've used it in a lot of different places. And when we came out with our initial, Kryptek camouflage that really changed the industry and non-stick and leaf, we're always evolving, right? And so we took this Obscura, which is the new family of camouflage, with a little bit of that Tiger Strike technology, the original Kryptek mixed in, and then using different color palettes to use different environments. But transitional works in so many different environments. I took it to Sonora hunting this year, and I would step out in the cacti and everything else, and they couldn't see me, and I'm only 20 yards away. So having that ability to blend in, especially when you're on a big vantage point where you can just, hunker down and spend hours, it really makes a difference. So we take a lot of time and effort. Josh Cleghorn is a mastermind. Like, he spends a lot of time and it's always evolving. And we got things in the hopper that nobody has seen, only us in the office. And it's exciting to see what more things we're going to bring and continue to evolve. But that Obscura family of camouflage with the transitional, the Skyfall that we brought out this year for whitetail hunting, which really there's so much usage in it. I mean, there were a lot of sheep that were harvested this year in that camouflage, in the Skyfall pattern as well. And so looking at the environment that you really use a lot of, the coloration in the environment and picking your pattern makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. It's talked a lot of my buddies into getting the gear, just because I blend in so well. And it's wild. Like, it's tough to judge a camo pattern unless you're out in it, right? Yeah. And so that camo pattern is so good in so many different habitats. I mean, from Hawaii to the Sonoran, the desert stuff, hunted the Badlands, blends in there, blends in the elk woods really good. And it's just absolutely amazing as I look back at photographs. And then, I hear from my buddies that say, yeah, I could see your cameraman up there. I couldn't see. I knew you were close up there. And boy, if I stay still, they can't even pick me out. And it tends to grab, I think the beauty of it, it's got shadows that really break up the outline, but it tends to grab whatever habitat you're in, whether that's tan, whether that's green. Yep. It just tends to grab those colors, and then it's a light color too, a light camo pattern. But man, that thing blends in so good, and I know it creates more opportunities as I get close and into bow range and I can sit still. They just look through me.
They do that micro-macro layering where you get that blur and definition. They will look right through you, and I've seen on video, and we've had conversations where animals are coming by so close, and you talk a lot about, letting the animal make the last move, right? I listened to a seminar you did last year, and having the right camouflage so that you feel confident in not moving, or if you do happen to move a little bit, they might look at you for a second, but they look right past you, and having that ability to blend just gives you a higher chance for success. And that's where that micro-macro layering really comes in our different patterns. It really creates a three-dimensional look in a 2D form.
Mm-hmm. It gives me an advantage out there getting close. Yeah, it's amazing. The prairie for antelope, it blends in really good with sagebrush. It just blends in. Every habitat I take that to, it blends in. And I do like the other camo patterns too. Looking at the other camo patterns, they blend in equally well, but that obscure transitional just really fits the kind of hunting that I like to do.
Yeah, and it was awesome to be able to sit down and talk with you about your layering and how you hunt and how I hunt, and then picking the right pattern for so many, because we have a lot of patterns, and you don't want every pattern that we produce. There's a lot of crossover, and the transitional does that. That's the transitional that'll hit 70% of Earth's environments, and that's going to cover a lot. And then you turn around and throw in your overwhites, which we have two style of overwhites to get you to that fourth season, which is Wraith and then also Grom. You can really go with one set of gear and have, a cover that gets you into those late cold weather times where there's snow on the ground or a little mixed snow. We've got something for all seasons.
I'm diving into your gear. The overwhites, that's the next piece I need for my late season for those snowy hunts. That would give me a big advantage because it blends in really good by the brush and stuff. But when I get that snow, there's nothing like having whites. And to have quality ones built like you guys, I got to dive into your website when I get out of here.
The great part about those is, they not only work in the field for the hunter, but they were really designed back into spec ops and a lot of different special operations units, and they've been tested a ton, and we still get orders every day from those units and using them. So we really get that true battlefield to backcountry testing, and they're the I know you guys have a lot of guys in your office and your podcast and channel for the predators. And I got to talk to a couple of the guys today that use them, and they're losing their mind. They're just like, I had no idea. This is game-changing for us. So it's great to be able to make gear for every season and not have to change completely and move everything. But those overwhites are a really cool opportunity, we need to get you to use, especially on those late-season hunts.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, you guys are constantly evolving. You guys are on the forefront and ahead of me at times, what I need or what I have to have for these hunts. But it's incredible, man. What an offering. What a great job you guys are doing. Your research and development. You guys are all hunters. You're out in the field, and I know you're a diehard bow hunter chasing elk and mule deer.
Yep.
And about every time we get together, it's all we can talk about.
Yeah, I mean, just like yourself, bow hunting, we got the opportunity to shoot a bow course, in the past, and, really having that time to learn and listen to each other and watch different things. And then, having the opportunity to go out and take those skills that we were finding through the air, and just put them to use. Mm-hmm. The one thing, like I said, back to that little seminar you did that I listened to, really being able to focus on that this year, because so many times I get into that 180 yard and I'm like, I got to get a little bit further. And being patient and letting that animal make that last move. Where are they going to go? Are they going to come to me? Are they going to go this way so I can skirt back? It's made a big difference. So you always learn, and with gear, there's always something better that you can do. There's always something a little bit more you can do. And, with technology nowadays, it's just unreal how quick they're evolving. And, I always think to myself, is there going to be a point where we just can't get better? Well, I remember when that first 3 years that we really started testing the technical side of it. And I look at it now, and we just continue to evolve.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing, man. I'm so glad you were able to pick up some tidbits and then implement it into your own game. You're one of us. You're like the community where you're a student of the game. You're constantly evolving and constantly wanting to get better. And that goes for Kryptek, that goes for your bow hunting, and I know that goes for your family. Like, your boy plays ball. You're constantly busy with your family as well. It transfers over to our entire lives once we find the path or the way. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that worked for you this season, being more patient, letting scenarios develop, keeping the element of surprise, and just the longer you can play the game, the better chance that an opportunity is going to present itself.
Yeah, I'll give you an example this fall where I've got some hunting partners, my best friend since I was babies. We've hunted together, and my other friend that, I've been friends with since 2005, and we spend a lot of time hunting elk together. We at least get one trip every year together, and, it's not only a time to reconnect and spend time with each other and have that brother's bond, but we really get to do what we love, which is chasing big bulls. And this year, as you know, it's been hot. It was hot. I think it's one of the hottest falls that I had hunting out, and especially that early section. And there were a lot of times where the elk were in the timber at first light, and they weren't out rutting and screaming. And so we would just sneak in. And, I thought, really, how could I take that and apply it to my game? And at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm pulling out my hammock. I'm listening to the bulls lay down. I'm getting in that 100, 150, 200 yards, and I'm making myself comfortable. And I sit and I wait and I wait and I wait until I hear them get up that midday to start moving around, maybe go get a drink. And then that's where we would sneak in and start working them. And, we harvested some bulls this year that way. And, that's that patience piece. It's that waiting for them to move and start making it. Might not be at, 40 yards, but listening and getting close, and then really, especially when it's hot. Mm-hmm. As the later season goes, bulls will scream all day. But having, be able to change your game and really be patient and letting them tell you what you should do makes a big difference.
Oh, man, that's so it. Right on. That's the perfect application. It's also creative thinking. There's not many guys that bring a hammock and will hang out and wait for those elk to to be on their feet. Like the other thing is when they're bedded, they're all looking for danger. It's so tough to get in heavy cover on bedded elk. Sure, it can be done, but if I don't know the exact position or I haven't glassed them up, I want them on their feet. That's when I kill them. And so, being patient like that and waiting for the afternoon for them to be on their feet and then making your move and going in. And just like you said, you're take what they give you. You're not trying to force a scenario. It's like you take what the elk give you, take what the animals give you, and you work with that. Keep that element of surprise so you don't blow all the elk out. And then you get to target them when you have the highest percentage chance to kill them. Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. And then, too, with the wind, you talk a lot about wind. Wind is key. They can see you 1, 2, maybe even 3 times, but, having wind, a consistent wind in the middle of the day. My dad always used to tell me he killed a lot of bulls in the middle of the day, on their bed or when they would get up. And I really never understood what he meant until this year and used some of the things that you said and really started to be patient. I always want to just like scream at him and get going and, really try to get in close and, having a little bit more patience and what it also did is let me be more selective. I could see a maybe smaller bull or less mature bull come in and not be pushing hard and trying to get up to that herd bull. It's just taking your time, slow down, don't blow them out of the next drainage. When you're in there for 5 to 7 days, I think we hunted 9 days that first part of the season, and it was hot every day. We didn't see any moisture. Not blowing them out to the next big drainage and having to, really push over that next drainage and exert that effort. You just slow down and really take, your time, and you get a better opportunity.
It's such a mix and match. It's kind of like of what we were talking about, durability versus weight. It's kind of this this give and take as far as aggressiveness and putting forth effort and trying to do everything you can to give yourself an opportunity, and then trying to mix that with patience of waiting for the right opportunity and trying to capitalize on that. It's such a give and take, mix and match with bow hunting, isn't it? And patience is a virtue.
Dude, I'm telling you, patience. I don't think, natural born hunters are patient. I mean, I think that you develop that over time, and maybe some are more, but it's definitely something that I've learned, to be a little bit more patient is definitely a virtue, and, it brings a lot more success, especially in the field. This last fall we just had a great time, and being able to use some of those, tactics really paid off. And, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems like over the last probably 10 years, elk have definitely changed a little behavior, especially early season. So being able to adapt in conditions on public land is a big difference. It's different when you have access to areas clear into the backcountry on horses, like a lot of you guys do, or maybe you've got a private ranch that you can hunt. That's one of those spots where you get access to go through to the backcountry or wherever else. But that public land elk is getting smarter. That public land mule deer is getting smarter, and being able to really take that time and be patient, I think is going to equal more success.
Absolutely. Yeah, I find myself. Like it's still, just like you were talking about, a student of the game, I'm constantly learning. And I love hunting elk that I can glass up in open terrain, and I love hunting them in their feeding features, shadowing the herd, coyoting the herd into timber. I know where they're at. And so these have been my tactics over the years to really target these herd bulls. But I found a bunch of elk this year that were living in the thick trees, and they were living in like clear-cut areas, thick trees with small openings, and there was bulls in there, and there was big bulls. And so I found myself, like they would come to meadows and feed and openings and feed, but it's in a high-pressure area where really, even at first light, I would be on bugles, or before first light, a half an hour before light, hour before light, I'm moving in on bugles, trying to put myself in position, and they would be out of these meadows by the time the lights came on, where you could never glass these elk. They were always in the trees, and so I find myself having to adapt my tactics more, and so doing more still hunting, or, and still hunting is like, I'm not moving super slow the entire time. I'm kind of using this echolocation with these bulls, and I'm being able to identify where they're at. Okay, they're over this ridge. I can move now, and I'm always keeping my head on a swivel and looking to catch those elk before me. But there's times where I'll be moving faster, and then there's times where I'm coming over and exposing country where I got to slow it down, or where I think I'm going to get into these elk, really slow it down. And when they're on their feet, like the whole game is to keep the element of surprise, see them before they see me keep a good wind, and then try to work in from there. And highly effective, man. I was able to arrow a great bull, and I just had to kind of adapt my tactics a little bit. But creative thinking is rewarded in the elk woods.
It is, and I know I've run into a lot of guys, and even teaching my kids, being too loud is obviously a problem, but being deadly quiet is a problem too. Mm-hmm. So it's okay to make a little noise, like you said, and there's times where you can move faster, and having that wind in your favor changes everything. So when it's hot like it was this fall, everything's loud. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't walk 2 steps without making a crunch, but making a consistent slow movement, having patience, and waiting for that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Elk hunting's great, right? You never stop learning. You just always keep going. You had a good season, man. Congratulations.
I did. It was a great season. I love, if I have to pick one, it's elk mule deer. But that's growing up with my dad. My grandfather had an outfitting business in southeastern Idaho, and my dad's passion was not only archery hunting, but archery hunting bulls. He just loved chasing bulls. So I naturally grew up chasing big bulls and really learning how to call. I remember one of my earliest memories, my dad had just an old copper tubing that was bent, and that was their bugle back then. And so I just made it my mission in life to figure out how to mimic and have been fortunate enough to learn how to call in a lot of bulls. And it was game changing for him. I remember as, an 8-year-old sitting back and 10-year-old, and he would look at me and we'd have some sign language and I'd call, and, bulls would come in and my dad would harvest a bull and we'd be excited. So, that chasing the bull and being able to have that interaction. But also, I've had opportunities where I've changed my game a little bit and used, calling to locate. And then, like I said, just you start to listen and learn and what they're going to do. And are they going to run if you bugle? Because there's just so much pressure now. But being able to keep them going just enough to where you can sneak in and get a shot.
Mm-hmm. It's really fun to hear about you and your dad and you and your kids and you and your buddies. We just build such meaningful relationships doing this. But with that calling, to be a next level elk hunter and to be able to call these elk in, because they're susceptible to it. I just find that a lot of guys will abandon their instincts or their elk hunting abilities for the call to this back and forth. So the next level of that, like where you're at, is to be able to know what these elk are doing, predict where they're going, read their not only their mannerisms, but vocally reading their emotion in their bugles and what their attitude is and what their cows are. But you just can't abandon your skill set and just back and forth and answer this thing and chase it until you don't chase it anymore. Like, that's not the way to kill big bulls. The next level and where you're at is paying attention to where these elk are going, to be able to try to get in front of them, really using that wind, really thinking about the setup and the right time to try to call that bull, reading the responses and knowing when to back off. And less is more in calling. You want to keep this, it's like this false reality to this bull that you're creating, and you want to keep that going. And not every bull is going to answer every time, or it ramps up in emotion. But I really think that that's the next level of elk hunting, don't you?
I do 100%. And that visual acquisition for a bull is still there. He wants to see what's coming in that's challenging him or anything. So that's what they're looking for. And the back and forth, you can find a bull that'll bugle all day and he'll stay at 200 yards. And as you put pressure on and get bugle closer, he'll just keep bouncing the next ridge. So, using all kinds of different, tips and tactics, leaving a guy a half a mile back, just bugling up the canyon every 20, 30 minutes so you can find where that bull is and sneaking in and, making that final press so you can, have that shot. They move so much, and they're curious. They want to know, especially in that early season. They want to see what's going on. Why is that guy hollering over there? What's he got going down? And so being patient, but also, changing, getting creative, and, using wind. Wind is everything.
Wind is everything. Yeah, you've stated it a couple times on the podcast. Wind has been the biggest kill.
The single biggest killer of harvest or shot, hands down, everywhere with a bow.
That's how I know you're a diehard bow hunter, is when you say wind 3 times in a podcast, because you're so right, man. It's like wind is everything. And I had a scenario this year where the wind. I was trying to to chase these elk in the morning out of these meadows and up this hill, and the wind would be good in the morning, but by the time I'd catch up to them where they're staging for their bedding ground, the wind would be wrong. And I'd just be chasing them where I just couldn't quite catch them. You know how elk walk uphill. And so I had this theory that, okay, what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to hike all the way up the hill to their bedding grounds, and then I'm going to wait for the thermals to switch as they're coming up the hill, and then move into them, you know, and that tactic worked really well. So in the dark, I'm just hiking away from these elk up this hill, not anywhere close to where they're bugling or where the party's going on, but I know I'm in the spot where they're going to come up to, right over, and I have my elevation. And then once those winds started to switch, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, and it was really tough. It was like your hammock deal. It's really tough to wait there and listen to the party and the bugles, because most of the time I'd run for that, you know, but it wasn't working in that thick terrain where I had to use some different tactics. But that thinking outside the box, those hunting instincts, like that's what's going to make you successful, whether you call or not.
Yeah, and, you know, we're naturally being predators. We want to be part of that, and, you know, just changing tactics all the time, you know, especially with weather. Have you noticed the wind changing a little bit more with some of the different storms that come through in the fall?
100%.
You know, you're like, okay, thermals do this in the morning, they do this at night. You know, it seemed like, you know, they just the different storm fronts and how they come through, and how the jet stream pushes different things, where you're like, I know that at 10 o'clock the wind's going to be doing this, and you set yourself up to do that, and the wind's not doing what you expect. So you got to really be able to adapt and back out and you know, try and do different things. But you know, like we mentioned, wind's a big deal. You can have the best gear in the world, you can have the best bow in the world, you can practice all year, but there are some things that you just really have to have in your favor to kill an animal.
Man, it's so true. And that good camo, when you're hunting those bulls in there, it seems like you'll get a cow that'll look your direction, or all of a sudden you see an elk and you freeze. With a good camo pattern, if you stay frozen, they can't see you, and eventually they're like, oh, it's nothing, and they go back to feeding and back to being elk. I can't tell you how many hundreds of times that's happened to me hunting these elk, where it's like, oh, there's one. Oh, no, she's looking my direction. And I just stay still, and then I'm able to blend in, and then all of a sudden, you know, 10 minutes or 15 minutes, sometimes it's just 30 seconds, you know, who knows, and they go back to being elk, and then I can make my play on them. So having, you know, I hunted with some solid colors for a while, and I didn't have that advantage, and I was getting spotted close more, and now having your guys' pattern, man, it's deadly.
Breakup helps. I had my biggest opportunity on a bull, public land Idaho, was 2 falls ago. And that same thing, we had, it seemed like an hour standoff, but you know, it was probably only about 5 to 10 minutes. And I froze, and I know before too long, you know, I was not in a great position to where I stopped as he came screaming in. And, you know, I moved just a little bit to try and turn my body so that I could get drawn, and man, he was gone. Just that little bit of movement, once they're beaded in on you, you know, you know, my heart sank as he ran away. I was able to have my son right there with me, Zane, and it was a giant bull, like missed opportunity, but also an incredible opportunity to see, you know, there are still great bulls on public land that you can chase with a bow, and just refining your techniques, being set up a little bit quicker, not being so aggressive, really back to patience and some of the other things that we've talked about.
You can always improve, right? Look at these scenarios like, how can I get better? No, that's it, man. I remember you showing me a video of that bull, an absolute world class. Yeah, it's just nice to have that kind of opportunity. I'm not going to kill every giant bull I chase or every giant bull I find, or buck for that matter, but to have the opportunity to go have an adventure and then just chase something that is past my expectations, that is just this giant specimen of a bull, like the best it can grow. Like, that opportunity alone is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think sometimes, as you know, especially being in the industry, and you know, pictures and you know, that having that harvest is everything, but don't forget the journey along the way. The adventure's there. You know, the kill's the kill. It's awesome. It's incredible. But there's so much adventure along the way to get there, and memories with friends, hunting partners, kids, you know, spouses. You know, co-branded people in the industry, everything. There's a lot of opportunity there. And that's, one thing that it's great to be able to really learn each individual experience. I mean, I know you could probably remember and tell verbatim your first archery kill. I know I can. So, having each of those opportunities is just unique and why we love this hunting industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's it. Well, yeah, you guys are constantly evolving, and everybody in your staff are outdoorsmen and hunters. And I think that's the key. You guys are out putting in the time, putting in the work, chasing these animals, the same passion that we have for it. We're just cut from the same cloth. So in turn, I get great technical gear from it, man. Great camo patterns and things that work for us hunters that weren't thought up by some CEO in an office somewhere,
Yeah, I mean, you really using it, and all kinds of uses. From Kyrgyzstan all the way to Alberta to the Yukon, to the Nevada desert. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite films was your self-filmed Idaho hunt a couple years ago. Just seeing your technique and really checking and using your gear to your advantage and spending the time to get around. Like, how did you do that? Like, I would have never thought, I'm going to set my spotter up. I'm so confident in my skills that I'm going to kill this buck in his bed, and I'm going to have a camera rolling the whole time. From how far was your camera away from where you actually shot?
Yeah, about 15. No, my camera was right on me. I snuck in with my tripod camera on it.
But you had one from the back that you had running, right?
Yep, had one from the back running. Oh yeah, so
from across the canyon.
Yep. I was up maybe 100 yards, like right as I crested the hill, maybe 50 yards behind me with the spotter. Yeah, and set up and got it.
Just to think and really take that time to do that. You always capture your adventures that way. And, having your mindset that always just, hey, take a little bit more time to set this up so that I can capture some of that is talent.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, man. That's a huge compliment coming from you. Yeah, it's
There's a lot of times I just want to throw the camera away and just go hunt, and you take that time to really capture not only for Eastmans, but yourself and your memories and learning. Right? I'm sure there's a lot of times where you've gone back and looked at stuff on film and continuing to evolve based on watching yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of it. It's really tough to listen to yourself or watch yourself, but it's so crucial for human growth too, So and you can look over scenarios and see, how the shot broke. You can do it in slow motion. There's so much you can review, and it's an added degree of difficulty, but it's this commitment to tell this story, to share it with family and friends, to share it with my audience, to try to capture magic in a bottle, because it's there's not a whole lot of guys that are trying to film bow hunts on public ground. Like, it is extremely tough. And so to go out there with this commitment to showcase like what's available for all of us out there, that what's available if you find passion in your life and you really work at your craft, and so
Master of your craft.
I love to share that story, man. So it's such a huge compliment, man. I really appreciate it.
Well, what you do, I've watched all your guys' stuff, and I get a little excited when you guys get something new to drop in. I've been on a couple with you, and so it's always fun to kind of relive that stuff. But what you do and allowing others to be able to watch it and learn from you is a big deal. Having that opportunity, that's I enjoy watching it. I do learn a lot.
Yeah, well, thanks so much. Yeah, I just appreciate you guys, like, in this this partnership. I feel like this connection and this personal friendship with you and everybody on your staff, and I love the insight that you give me. So many, not so many times, but I've been part of companies that don't want my insight or don't want to know what I like or how I think something can improve, and you guys always reach out and like you say, a lot of it comes down to personal preference. But for you guys to take my insight and go, yeah, man, Brian's doing these hunts. Like, what's he think about this? Or I think he would like this. Let's give him this and let him try it out, from all the different offerings, from the gloves. And you've just allowed me to build this system that's the best system I've ever had. The best camo pattern, the best technical gear. It's the best system that I've ever used, which in turn makes me more effective, more comfortable out there. And so, man, I just really appreciate your friendship. I really appreciate the partnership with you guys. And you guys are just absolutely killing it with all your offerings.
Well, thank you, Brian. That's amazing to hear, and I share the exact same thoughts. We really enjoy the feedback that we get from this partnership and the created friendship that we have. It's really great to be able to, and even when you don't do something great, to have you say, hey, Justin, you guys need to change this, because we do send a lot of stuff to you guys up for prototypes, and you're just like, this sucks. And we all fail, and that's how we get better. And so we appreciate, the friendships, the candor, everything that we do together. We have a killer synergy together, and it's been a great run so far, and I'm so glad that we've been able to do this.
Yeah, man. Well, let's both keep killing it in the gear and the bow hunting woods, and man, let's keep in touch. And I love having you on the podcast. Thanks so much for taking the time, man.
Absolutely. I'm glad I was able to get on here, and I'm looking forward to an upcoming hunt this year or next year.
Yeah, right on. Sounds like a plan. Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Again, I just really like that, Justin, and really enjoyed the conversation. That guy just eats, sleeps, and breathes bow hunting. He loves it like we do, and that's why I'm able to have such a good connection with him. So yeah, thanks again for him for taking the time. Thanks again to you guys for listening in. Thanks to our sponsors for today's show, Kryptek. I want to thank Savage, Real Accurate Rifles. I want to thank Black Ovis and Camo Fire. And again, we're giving away a free 1-year subscription to Mountain Tough Fitness for the app when you purchase Tag Hub. So there's a bunch of bundles that you can look up on Eastmans and search Tag Hub. But if you become a member of Tag Hub, put in the promo code Brian and you'll get a free 1-year subscription to Mountain Tough. I think it's a great offering. I think that Mountain Tough is a great app. I've been using it a bunch. Just getting really good workouts in between my runs, and so it's been really good, and it's taking my fitness to the next level. So thanks to those guys for putting that out. Really like those guys at Mountain Tough and like their product they're putting out. So you can check that out. Check out everything we're doing at Eastmans. Just had a new article come out with I had an article in the new magazine that just came out all about the off-season preparation. So really proud of how that one came out. And I just wrote another one, on my dehydrated foods that I put together. That's going to come out in the sheep issue, which is the next issue. But yeah, check out the magazines we put out. It's such great information in there. Eastman's Hunting Journal, Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal. And for me, man, I'm just working away here, trying to get these last couple homes that I have to get finished up, but really just getting life back to normal. So getting my workouts, man, I got my garage is so close to being all the way put together, just with benches and shelves and organization. It feels so good to have it back. Be working on that new bow. So just waiting for one more piece to show up in the mail, and I'll have that thing set up. So I'm going to try to capture a lot of the setting up this bow and kind of my process with tuning and things. So I'll try to put some of that out on social media so you guys can see that. And I've been shooting indoor and getting in my runs and spending time with my family and just life back to normal. It feels so good. Feels so good to really dedicate myself to bow hunting again. Not that I wasn't before, but during that house, it just took a lot of my focus away. And I'm so happy and fulfilled when I'm working on my passion, when I'm working at getting better at bow hunting. So looking into tags, looking into hunts, working out, shooting my bow, these are all the things that make me really happy in life. So yeah, I'm just doing that, trying to get better each and every day. And trying to take this thing to the next level. At least for me, I'm at my best when I'm working to improve. And man, I'm just all in. I think I love it more than ever. And I'm so excited. I leave in less than a month for a dream trip for me to Australia to hunt red deer during the roar, fallow deer during the croak. Going to be hunting sandbar deer that live in this gnarly high country. And then just spending time with two really good friends that I made from Australia that are hosting me on this trip, that are just amazing human beings, amazing bow hunters. And so hope to learn some stuff from these guys. I think I also get to hunt some pigs over there. it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a couple weeks of action-packed bow hunting. So, man, I just really looking forward to it. It's going to be incredible. I can't believe just this average blue-collar bow hunter like myself gets to go on a big mega trip like this. So, super pumped. Gonna be leaving April 1st, so it's coming up. I'm gonna get packed up, make sure this bow is shooting right, and we're gonna go do some bow hunting this spring and get done with that, and then go right into spring bears, which is amazing. I kind of lost some time last season. I was going on the house, and I was able to get out for a few days, but not give it my full effort. And last year was the first year I didn't arrow a bear, and gosh, I don't know, 5, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. So I will be going hard after spring bears, after a big mature boar this year. So I can't wait to do that when I get back. And then we'll get into summer scouting and training and right into that fall season. So super exciting. Just trying to get my apps in and make sure I've got some hunts coming up, which things seem to line up. I haven't got super lucky yet, but I've definitely lined up some hunts and have some places to go. So, and then just, get lucky on one of these things, right? One of these mega tags would be super fun. So just getting my name in the hats, doing my research, trying to give myself the best odds possible, and trying to soak in this life and get as much as possible and as much joy as possible. And it sure is nice to be in this house and spending time with my family. My oldest daughter's coming home this weekend, so it'd be nice to spend some time with her. And like I say, just enjoying life. Really happy to be in this place and not be under such a high amount of stress right now. So things are all good on my side. I hope you guys are doing well with your work, job, family. Hope you guys are getting your apps in and lining up some good bow hunts for next season, some good adventures you can go on and get the most out of this life. So thanks, you guys. I really appreciate the support. Appreciate you guys listening in. And with that, I'll check in with you next week.